So all of these diseases are actually diseases of too much insulin.
Nutrition and food are major factors in the development and prevention of cancer. According to history, cancer is considered a genetic disease. However, the latest research says it might not be the case. Cancer is rather a metabolic disease, with some metabolic factors contributing to its progression. That's exactly what Dr. Jason Fung believes and advises us to reconsider our dietary choices to safeguard ourselves from chronic diseases like cancer. In the video, we will uncover the main one food that feeds cancer and how it takes place in the body. But that's not all. We will also discover how you can easily prevent cancer development by using Dr. Jason's recommended methods. So before getting into the video, let's first understand the mechanism of cancer using Dr. Jason's valuable insights. According to Dr. Jason Fung, cancer prevails in the metabolic environment of the body, which is majorly influenced by the diet we consume. He says cancer is a disease linked to obesity, which indirectly means that food can be a big factor in cancer development compared to smoking.
On my podcast soon, we're going to have Dr. Patrick Hanaway, who is my colleague and friend, was the medical director at Cleveland Clinic, who had cancer and used fasting as an approach to his cancer treatment. He still got radiation, but he also did it in a way that actually reduced all the side effects to almost none, has kept him healthy now for well over a year, and his cancer was not a great one, and let him go through the process with really no issues, which was really staggering, and really went on a ketogenic diet.
It is relatively a new ideology discovered from the latest research studies that food can be as damaging as other key factors. Prior to these discoveries, Dr. Jason says people used to focus on factors like GMOs, smoking, plastics, and chemicals, entirely overlooking the main part, diet. The first major research study that claimed that cancer is largely connected to obesity was published in the year 2003. Following that research, scientists began exploring this topic more deeply and discovered that type 2 diabetes can also be linked to cancer risk.
So if you look at obesity, for example, if you were to measure the levels of insulin, people who are more overweight tend to have higher insulin. Same with type 2 diabetes. Hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance are really sort of two sides of the same coin. So one causes the other. Sort of hyperinsulinemia can cause insulin resistance can cause hyperinsulinemia. So they're really the same thing. And again, the same thing applies to sort of cancer.
For this reason, Dr. Jason says insulin is one of the major key factors in cancer risk. His books, The Obesity Code and the Diabetes Codes, clearly discuss how a condition called hyperinsulinemia, when insulin levels become higher than usual, can turn out dangerous. Insulin is a normal natural hormone produced in the body by the pancreas to regulate blood sugar levels, absorbing the excess glucose from the blood, which is stored for future use in energy production. But when its amount surges, it can give rise to serious issues. For example, if someone acquires excessive insulin through injections, they can become obese. Similarly, if someone has high glucose levels, it can cause type 2 diabetes. Insulin is also a major growth factor of cancer, becoming a key connection between cancer and insulin. This connection can be seen in obesity-related cancers like breast cancer, colon cancer, liver cancer, and pancreatic cancer. Therefore, hyperinsulinemia actively contributes to the growth of these cancers. Insulin isn't only a metabolic hormone, but a great growth factor and insulin-like growth factor, being a major contributor. Dr. Jason mentioned a research study done by Dr. L. Kelly in his video, which showed how insulin can directly affect growth pathways.
A pit stop.
Yeah, exactly. A little pit stop. So that's the point of the human body too. You can either go for growth or you can go for longevity or cellular maintenance repair. But you gotta have a bit of both. It's a balance there. It's not all growth. And this is where you say, oh, eat. Well, you're gonna put your body, your nutrient sensors are gonna go up, your growth factors are gonna go up. You're gonna put yourself in growth mode.
One research study published in the International Journal of Diabetes in Developing Countries evaluated the link between insulin glargine, a long-acting insulin analog, and the development of different types of cancer. The results showed that there was a strong association between this insulin and the onset of breast and prostate cancers. Let's now find out about one specific food that can make you prone to cancer. But before we continue, this content is provided for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider with any questions about your health or a medical condition. Cancer cells grow and thrive on glucose, which is sugar. Sugar is the major feeding source of cancer, and this phenomenon is known as the Warburg effect. Unlike normal body cells, which require oxygen for energy production, through the process of oxidative phosphorylation, cancer cells opt for a quicker and less efficient process called glycolysis. Through this process, cancer cells produce energy more rapidly and support the uncontrolled growth of tumors. Despite the availability of oxygen, cancer cells double their sugar consumption to supercharge this process, ultimately getting access to proliferation at a rapid speed. Therefore, glucose, or sugar, plays a critical role in the development and progression of cancer cells by offering them the energy and building blocks they require. Besides energy production, glucose also helps with the synthesis of molecules such as nucleotides, amino acids, and lipids for the development of new cells. Thus, when glucose is available constantly, it supports the abnormal growth of cancer tumors, becoming a key player in the progression of cancer. Cancer cells take over the normal metabolic processes in the body and alter the way they process glucose. In healthy body cells, the glucose is efficiently metabolized to release energy with minimal to no byproducts. However, when it comes to cancer cells, they choose glycolysis for the same process which results in the production of lactic acid. That's how cancer cells create an ideal environment: lower oxygen and higher acid levels, suitable for their growth and progression. On the other hand, overconsumption of sugar often leads to high insulin levels in the body. When we consume sugar, there is a rapid surge in blood glucose, which triggers the pancreas to release insulin. Therefore, when there is a constant consumption of sugar, it results in insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a condition in which the body cells stop reacting to insulin, ultimately increasing the blood glucose levels. This triggers the pancreas to produce even more insulin in an attempt to regulate blood sugar levels, leading to seriously high amounts of insulin and the condition hyperinsulinemia. High insulin can directly support cancer cell growth. Insulin encourages cell proliferation and prevents cell death, making an ideal environment for cancer development. Cancer cells hold more insulin receptors than normal cells. Therefore, they are more responsive to insulin's growth-promoting properties. This in turn leads to rapid tumor progression and growth.
Turns out that insulin is a major growth factor as well. And that is the link to a lot of these cancers. So breast cancer and colorectal cancer being the two most prominent obesity-related cancers, but also pancreatic and liver and so on. So hyperinsulinemia turns out to play a sort of huge role in those as well. And that's sort of linked through several different growth stimulating mechanisms.
Dr. Jason Fung says glucose is the real culprit behind the uncontrolled growth of cancer. He says high blood sugar levels lead to this condition, hyperinsulinemia, which triggers additional growth of tumors after activating insulin and insulin-like growth factors, IGF. As a result, an unstoppable cycle of glucose-feeding cancer cells occurs, triggering tumor growth and making it highly important to regulate blood sugar levels to prevent the spread of cancer. Therefore, he recommends changing the diet and adopting a healthy lifestyle with an addition of a healthy approach. Let's find out how we can change our diet and eliminate this one cancer-feeding food, sugar, to stay on the safe side. Want to learn how your diet can fight cancer and supercharge your health? Subscribe to the QuickTime newsletter. Each week, we deliver expert tips, tasty recipes, and practical steps to help you live longer and feel amazing, straight to your inbox. According to Dr. Jason Fung, several different foods can elevate blood sugar levels easily, and we often consume them without realizing it. These foods mostly revolve around sugar and carbohydrates. Since cancer thrives on glucose, it is crucial to cut down the sugar intake or foods that contain excessive sugar to starve the cancer cells to death. Some super sugar foods are candies, pastries, sodas, and desserts. Refined carbohydrates, on the other hand, like pasta, pastries, and white bread, play an active role in the production of glucose in the body.
Just by chance. And the problem is that how can you have, remember, every cancer in history developed from your own cells, but the number of mutations that would be required to get a cancer far outstrips the rate of mutation. And if these are all random mutations, then how come every cancer looks exactly the same, right? So person A, person B, person C, person D, they have identical appearing colon cancers, which
Dr. Jason Fung instead advises opting for whole grains and complex carbohydrates, which can have a faded effect on blood sugar levels. Processed foods also pack excess sugar and refined carbohydrates. Alternatively, such foods also contain unhealthy fats and preservations, which increase inflammation in the body, resulting in an elevated risk of cancer. Some common processed foods include cakes, biscuits, savory snacks like chips, sausage rolls and pies, or bacon and sausages. Lastly, beverages like soda, sweetened tea, and energy drinks are the biggest sources of added sugars. These can trigger the blood glucose levels in the body and ultimately high insulin levels. Dr. Jason Fung strongly advises against the use of these beverages, recommending the intake of water, herbal teas, and unsweetened beverages instead. Therefore, by making these easy changes in your diet, you can prevent the development of cancer in the first place. However, you can make this healthy change more effective by incorporating an additional method: intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is a type of eating pattern that separates the periods of eating and fasting. This type of eating pattern focuses on the times you eat rather than what you eat. Intermittent fasting aims to let the body use the energy store more effectively, ultimately boosting metabolic health and overall well-being. There are many different types of IF available according to your needs. 16-8 method, which involves 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. Another one is a 5-2 diet, in which one can eat normally for 5 days, but does the calorie restriction for the rest of the 2 days. Thirdly, you have an eat-stop-eat method, where you can choose to fast for a day or two of your choice. Another one is alternate day fasting. In this one, you choose to alternate between the days of fasting and normal eating. The last one is warrior eating, in which you only consume raw fruits or vegetables throughout the day, and at night, you have a large meal within 4 hours. Intermittent fasting is a great way to manage weight, boost insulin sensitivity, lower inflammation, and improve brain health. Dr. Jason Fung, in his book, The Complete Guide to Fasting, said that intermittent fasting is not about starving oneself, but rather giving you a break from constant eating. He says through IE, you can reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and ultimately lower the risk of cancer development by inducing the process of autophagy.
But the idea is to really drop your insulin levels. And if these are diseases of too much insulin, then that's going to be a very useful adjunctive treatment. So fasting is actually fascinating because there's all these different things we're discovering. So one of the things is sort of autophagy. So as you fast, of course, your nutrient sensors go down, so mTOR, insulin go down, and then you activate this process called autophagy, where you actually start to break down some of your subcellular organelles and stuff. So basically, your body's just trying to clean house.
Dr. Jason Fung recommends starting this practice with TRE, which is time-restricted eating, in which you can eat breakfast at 7 a.m. and have dinner at 6 p.m. This will create a gap of 13 hours without eating. As soon as you feel comfortable with this one, you can adopt the 16-8 method, extending the fasting window to 16 hours. Dr. Jason Fung says one should make this practice personalized and adjust according to their body needs, as it is a different experience for each one of us. Lastly, he recommends that one should consult a healthcare professional before starting any intermittent fasting regimen. It is specifically important for people with underlying medical conditions. That is it. If you liked watching this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If you want to learn more about intermittent fasting, watch this next video.